Alright, so I'm back and we're going to do another rant of the week. And today, primarily due to this guy, I wanted to do a rant of my top 10 reasons why I think, in my opinion, Beast Wars is better than G1. I know, it's blasphemy, and, you know, I'm sure I'm gonna get the trolls for this one. Welcome, trolls. Just, go ahead, leave all your nasty comments below. Just know I'm probably gonna delete you or block you, one of the two. And I don't really play the troll game, so go ahead, whatever. It's all good. So anyway, before we get started, there's three things that I want to go over before I get started with this list. One, in all likelihood, I'm going to be doing the reverse next week. Top 10 reasons why G1 is better than Beast Wars. Because that's what I can do. I like them. I personally would say I like Beast Wars better than G1, but it's marginal. It's a marginal, and it also depends on my mood. Because there are some days where I prefer G1 over Beast Wars. But in general, Beast Wars is the one I truly grew up with. So yeah. I can do, that's why I do. That's why I like it. Now, we're also going to be adding a little bit of Beast Machines into Beast Wars. Beast Machines is definitely the weakest of the three. We'll talk about that because it is part of the same story arc, a little bit, and then and also and this is the rules here, because feel free to comment below whatever you want to on why you think either you agree with me or different reasons why Beast Wars is better than G1, or your own reasons why G1's better than Beast Wars. That's fine. Feel free. I mean, let's have a big discussion here. The one thing that the few things that I'm going to say that we have ruled out of the discussion are, one, the toys. We're talking about strictly the cartoons, and the American cartoons at that. Not the Japanese Headmasters, because I've never seen them, so I can't sit there and judge them. Or the Japanese Beast Wars. Again, I never saw them, can't judge them. I don't know what happened in them. I've never done research on those because it's not mine. It's not my show. It's not something I want to do. Even Beast Wars. I love Beast Wars. I love the Japanese Beast Wars toys, but I just never wanted to really watch the show. So we're not talking about the toys. Strictly G1 cartoon, American G1 cartoon, and the American Beast era, the Beast Wars Beast Machines. And then we're also, aside from one character, and we'll get into that later on why, we're not talking about individual characters here. Because we could argue who's the better Decepticon, or, con leader. Is it Megatron from G1, Galvatron from G1, or is it Megatron from Beast Wars? It's like we could argue that all day long. It's not about the characters, it's about the actual show, the overall structure of the said show. How it was built, what was going on in it. And I also would say, I'm sure the trolls won't listen to me, whatever. You guys can go fuck yourselves. I don't give a shit. Also, put down a reason. I think everybody wants to know everyone's opinion on this. Some people would, some people won't. But anyway, I know I do. I want to know your opinion on these matters. Don't say, well, G1's better because it's G1. It's like, okay, awesome. Let's give a reason. Come on, let's make this into an active discussion, shall we? All right. So I have no particular order on these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. So yeah, like I said, no particular order on this, but we'll just get right into it. Number one, it's a small part of a bigger world. G1, you pretty much were watching the whole war. You know, all the important battles of the war. There were some minor skirmishes going on in Cybertron that you didn't always know about. But for the... And maybe some more in space here and there. But for the most part, the war was all right there. It was all happening on the screen. In Beast Wars, you have a battle going on, but at the same time, you always know that this is only a small part of this world. So there's like, you could sit there, like, as a kid, you could sit there and imagine, like, this same kind of scenario could be playing out on hundreds of different worlds. You know, they could be landing on alien planets, or yeah, one thing I always was like, man, what if they landed on the Pokemon world and we had Pokemon Transformers? How cool would that have been? You know, just, you know, Megatron could turn into Charizard, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, you know, so that's one thing I always liked. It's just like, you know, there's a bigger world out there, and every now and then they came in contact with a bigger portion of that world, and, you know, it really always, you know, it was a big deal. So that was pretty cool, I thought. It wasn't all just right there. Beast Machines did put it into it's all right here, essentially. But they also don't go into every aspect of the world either. So, you know, there could be more going on. But for the most part, it's like, this is pretty much it, because this is all there really could be at this point. Alright, number 2, we'll go with this one. Adult humor. Like, every now and then, you kind of got a hint of the possibility of adult humor in G1. But Beast Wars kind of was a little bit more blatant about it. You know, when, like, Rat Trap's sitting there talking to Silverbolt, saying how he's like, hey, why don't we, when we get back to Cybertron, I know this little bar we can go to where they, you know, where the server girls walk around without their chest plates on, if you know what I mean. And it's like, you know, stuff like that. It was just kind of like, did he just say that? Or like when Silverbolt came back from a mission, and Rat Trap's like, hey, where you been? And he's like, oh, you know, scouting the enemy. And Rat Trap's like, find any new positions? It's like, yeah. So it makes it more, well, you know, there's also the childish humor, but there was childish humor in G1 too. And it just makes it so it's a little bit more adult themed. So, like, for me personally, growing up with it, you know, was fun, but at the same time, it's like, today I know I could still watch it, and it's like, it's still enjoyable for me. G1, it's enjoyable, but not on the same level for the most part. It's just kind of like, oh, now I'm watching a Saturday morning cartoon where it's like hints. I'm not by no means am I saying the entire show, but hints of it was more like, of Beast Wars was more like in par with like Simpsons or something like that. More, just a little bit better. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's see here. Okay, here's a good one. Reasons for alt modes. Now, in G1, when they first get to Earth, when they get reactivated, Teletran 1 rebuilds everyone following the schematics of Earth modes. So, but, this is a big but here. They were built to be robots in disguise. Now, they instantly throw that all out of whack because of the fact that they have big giant logos on them. You know, big Autobot symbols, big Decepticon symbols. And they're also their Decepticons are getting more known for attacking humans, and Autobots are getting more known for defending them, and they're working with them. So it's like, what are they in disguise for at this point? what are they hiding from? They know, everyone knows what everyone looks like, and it's kind of ridiculous though then it is really ridiculous when they're sitting there talking about how they're hiding. It's like 5 Faces of Darkness, the 5-part episodes that came in season 3 right after the movie, where Outback is on Earth looking for the Coneheads, and he's at an airfield and he can't find them. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you look at the one that looks like Dirge? The only one on the airstrip that looks like Dirge, who's the only one that's different colors from everybody else and has the big Decepticon logos. Can you not see that? And then also, then you get things like the Insecticons and the Dinobots, where, okay, they're clearly no longer hiding and they're not in disguise anymore. I'm not trying to insult transformations in general. I'm just talking about the alt modes that they have don't have a true reason. I prefer human alt modes to Cybertronian alt modes, but you start thinking that it's like, okay, everybody knows we're Decepticons at this point. Why don't we go ahead and turn into a Cybertronian tank as opposed to a human tank? Yeah, you'd think that some human alt modes have more restrictions than the Cybertronian ones. So, like Reflector, he turns into a camera. You can't tell me that there might not be a better option here. Megatron turns into a pistol. It's like, again, you can't tell me that there's not an option. Beast Wars. So when they first land, they find out that the planet they're on is overly saturated with raw energon, which is poison to them. In such heavy doses, it's poison. They can't be around that much. So they develop the alt modes that have a bio flesh on the outside, so that it can protect them from this overage of of the energon. So there's a reason for their alt modes. It's not just like, oh well, we're beast, because we felt like being beasts. There's an actual purpose to it. Which was cool. And again, we're talking about storylines in the show, not just, not just like the toy lines or whatever. Because it's like, of course the toy line for Beast Wars when it first came out was just to be beasts, just be something different. Whereas G1, it's like they were cars and planes because that's what we wanted them to be. So yeah, that wouldn't. That's one thing I really did like. Was the actual purpose to the alt modes. Yeah, they kind of threw it out the window later on in the series when they start getting rid of the energon poisoning, but they kept it pretty consistent for at least the first season, which was half the episodes of the whole series. Let's see here. Another one is this show, as far as the American show goes, was the first one to really kind of come up with a better concept of scale, and also not doing the mass shifting, because they never mass shifted in the show. In Beast Wars, it's like, yeah, Rat Trap seemed to get smaller, but he was also folding in on himself. So, is he getting smaller, or is he just transforming properly? It's not like Megatron, who goes from a massive robot, as big as he is, and he turns into a pistol. That at some points you can hide inside a guitar case. And other points Optimus can fire it. Which that didn't make sense now that I'm thinking about it. Or other issues with scale. Because that's a huge issue with G1 is scale. Beast Wars, there's not... as far as the toys go, there's issues with scale. Again, we're not really talking about toys. But with Beast Wars, when it comes to the actual characters in the show, they were all consistent with each other. So there's no argument on, scale to a huge degree. There's continuous argument over scale on G1. And I think it's probably Beast War's fault that there's that argument, because it's like, well, Beast Wars can do scale properly. Why can't G1? Anyway, okay. Another next one. Cameos from G1. This was always just fun, because it was like, when I was a kid and watching Beast Wars for the first time, I remember G1, but I didn't watch all the episodes because they weren't available to me. Unlike a lot of people, that grew up with G1, that by the time Beast Wars was coming out, they were able to go out and buy it on DVD. I couldn't. It was not something that was in my realm of possibilities. So I didn't really get to watch G1 until I was over 20. But I did remember some characters. I did have the G1 movie on VHS, which I loved it. But so it's like, I remembered Starscream. I remember Megatron and Optimus and Soundwave. I remember the Autobot cars. I couldn't remember which one at the time. It's like, oh yeah, whoever that guy is. And, later on I thought it was Silverstreak. It turned out it was Prowl. It's like, I remember all these characters. I remember Unicron. Now, and in Beast Wars, first time you see it is you get Starscream's ghost possess Waspinator, which was awesome. And then later on, you get Ravage showing up. And then you get, you see instructions from the original Megatron. You see Optimus Prime. You see deactivated Prowl and Soundwave and, and the Ark and stuff like that. And then the Vok, when they were interrogating Optimus Primal back in Season 1, they used Unicron's format because they knew that would be something that would get his attention. So I thought that was really cool. It was something that tied it into the original series without just being like blatant, like, okay, well, like, let's talk, like RID, where the current RID, where it's like, okay, this show is sort of the sequel to Prime, and now because the ratings weren't good or something, now they're throwing in all the characters from Prime to try and remind you that, oh yeah, this is Prime. It's like, it was more about like, yeah, we're part of this world, but we're not relying on it, even though they are huge plot points sometimes. Okay, next one. No humans. It was a little annoying in the season in the first 2 seasons of G1, and the movie was bad. I'm talking human in general. The movie was bad because it had Daniel, and season 3 is almost unwatchable when he's on the screen because he's a whiny little brat that deserved to get mauled half to death at the end of this series. And then all the other Transformers shows that have ever been, and the live action movies, you have to deal with humans. They're always telling the stories from their point of view. And some is bad, some is okay. Like the Prime humans are okay. Armada humans are unbearable. You cannot watch it. It's garbage. The live action movies, it's like, it really depends on if you're a fan of Shia LaBeouf or Marky Mark. I'm not a fan of either of them, but I can be okay with it. But at the same time, it's like they also focus too much on the humans in some of these stories, and it's like, I'm watching Transformers. I want to watch big robots fight big robots. I don't want to watch, random human hitting on some random human girl. It's like, it's not what I care about. It's not what I want. I do not want to watch a small human child decide that it's time to go celebrate Ultra Magnus's birthday, because that is not compelling at all. It's like, ugh. But Beast Wars, you get some proto-humans at one point, but they are far from the center of even those stories. You know, they're a plot point to the stories, but they're not driving the plot. They're just like an achievement of said plot. Like the episode when Megatron could not finish building his death ray because it was too powerful, which was, first off, just a dumb move on his part because he turned it on before it was complete because he wanted to try it out. And Tarantula's like, no, we're not ready yet. And he does it anyway. And he's like, fuck. And now they can't finish it, so they have to get a human and have the human finish it. So it was like, it was part of the plot. But it wasn't like the overall plot. The overall plot was, one, Rat Trap and Depth Charge trying to get along. And also, Rat Trap, this was the first time he really had interactions with the clone of Dinobots. Like, and also trying to stop Megatron from destroying the entire base. It's like, those were more important to this whole story than the humans. And that was only one episode with the humans. There was like 2, maybe 3 episodes altogether. No, 2 episodes really focused on the humans, and again, it was more like the overall plot was something else. And then there was another one where they were in it, but they were not a huge plot. Again, they just kind of showed up. But anyway, the point remained. And in Beast Machines, there is no humans. There is no outside interference. It's just all Transformer stuff. In Beast Wars, you had some alien interactions, which was cool. It was definitely different. Again, that goes into the small part of a big world. And that was cool, you know, seeing the Vok and stuff like that. But like I said, it's like when the humans did show up, they're so minor that's like you could have replaced them with something else if you really wanted to. You didn't have to include the humans into the stories. You could have done something else. They're easily replaceable. But other shows, in the movies, like imagine if you took out all the human scenes from the first Transformers movie. I mean, we're talking about maybe 30 minutes runtime tops. It's just. All right. Okay. Sparks and other terminologies. This was the first time they used the term spark for the. In G1, they briefly called it the laser core. That was used one episode, and that was it. From Beast Wars on, though, it was Spark. All Transformer mythos from that point on has all been the core of a Transformer's existence is the spark. There's other terms, you know, slag, you know, as a curse term. The pit. Yeah, I'm gonna send you straight to the pit. Primus, as a religion. Not just the. Because in Marvel Comics, Primus was Cybertron. But in Beast Wars, it was just like a religion, Covenant of Primus and stuff like that. So it was like, you know, nanoclicks and stuff like that. Like they created more terms, stasis pod. Yeah. Anyway, you get what I mean. The big one was the spark. So stasis lock was a good one. So it's like, again, spark is such an important thing to Transformer lore. It's hard to sit there and say, oh, this wasn't actually part of the fiction before Beast Wars. You know, you think about it. If you think about it, it's like no G1 has a spark because it's different type. You know, it's like if you try and sit there and like Beast Wars never happened, well, then don't ever use the word spark because that's where it came from. Anyway, all right, next one, and this is going back to what I was saying earlier. This is the only character that actually is on the list, and that's because there's more to it than just a character, and that's Rampage. And he's an important part of Beast Wars, and in my opinion, Transformers in general. But we're going to focus on the Beast Wars aspects of this, and that would be, if you think about Rampage. It's like on the surface, he was just evil crab thing. But when you actually watch the show and you get more character development from the show, you find out that he's a Maximal. He's not a Predacon. He never joins the Predacons. He's forced to work for Megatron, but he's not a Predacon. He's a Maximal that has been tortured and subject to all sorts of horrible tests and experiments to try to turn him into an immortal being like Starscream was. You also then find out that his spark could not be extinguished or recycled, which means at some point somebody tried to kill him, and then somebody tried to recycle him into a new Maximal, and he came back as Rampage, or at that time Protoform X. And then you find out that they don't know what else to do with him, so they're going to just drop him off on some random world. So what you're finding out here, and this is why it's important, is the fact that things aren't all, what's the word or term? Whatever, lollipops and rainbows or whatever in the Maximals world. They're doing horrible things to, poor citizens. They're just absolutely destroying lives here. And then they're covering their tracks. Afterwards they censor everything that happened in G1 to their own people, because this is why, or most likely the reason why, like Optimus and a lot of the other Maximals don't know who Starscream is, because it's all been censored, because Starscream was part of the project, or he was the goal of the project. Let's make another one of him. So it's dark, it's twisted, and it's more realistic into real terms of a government, because we all know the government's probably doing all sorts of weird things to people and not telling anybody. Conspiracy theories or whatnot. I don't think it's that serious as like they have a plan with aliens or anyway. But the thing is, it's like it showed that the Maximal government was not just peace and love. They have their own agendas, and they're doing horrible things to reach those agendas. And they were also assigned this project to take Rampage out and drop him, which then puts them into the area of where the Predacons were, and they thus being able to chase the Predacons in their quest, and that then starts the Beast Wars. So he's a very critical part. And then if you actually go into more depth with the depth charge coming into it, here's again more past characters similar to Omega Supreme, where it's like he was in charge to guard something. He failed. Rampage killed everyone in the colony, and now he's trying to kill him. And unlike Omega Supreme, he achieves his goal. So it's like it's a great story arc in between Depth Charge and Rampage, and I really wish they would make a movie on Protoform X, like before he gets captured and brought to justice. I would like to see his birth and him going through destroying these colonies, because he destroys at least two, Colony Unicron and Starbase Rugby. He destroys two colonies, or a colony and a starbase. So I would like to see that. I would like to know more about that. I think it's very interesting. All right. Second to last one, smaller crews. This is one of those that goes both ways. But for me, I enjoyed the smaller crews better because you get to know the characters more. You get to know, you get character development through them. You feel more connected to the characters, especially when they die. It's like, fuck, I liked him. That's what I said when Tarantula died. I was like, fuck, they're gonna kill Tarantulas? No. You know, or Pterosaur. I always liked Pterosaur. He was a great character. And when he fell in the lava by accident, it's like, oh, man. Scorponok, I didn't really care too much about. But it's like, you know, it's like you learn to know these characters. You know what drives them. You know what they think, they feel. You know, it's like certain things are going to rub them the wrong way. You know, certain characters don't work well together, even though you know they're friends, like Rat Trap and Dinobot. And it's just overall, it's more fun, it's more enjoyable. G1, if you look at it, you know, you get to know a few characters here and there, but it's hard to get attached to them because some of them just disappeared. You know, he's just like, okay, he's gone. Or in the G1 movie, you just wiped out half the crew. You know, it's like just wiped out everybody, and it's like, okay, we're gonna start out with these characters. It's like, but I was watching them. You know, those are the ones I wanted to watch, not these guys. You know, it's like, yes, and I know, again, reasons were the toy reasons, but we're talking about the story arc of the show. No excuses here. It's like, you know, you get to know Optimus, you get to know Ironhide a little bit on Bumblebee, a little bit on Hound, but most of the other characters just come and go. You know, Red Alert, he had one episode focused on him, and that's it. You don't see him ever again, really. You know, he's in the background. He says a few things every now and then, and that's it. So, and it's like you don't even know where he came from. He just showed up one day. You know, he just walked in there with him and Inferno, just like, hey, what are we doing? You know, same with the Protectobots. The entire team of the Protectobots just shows up one day. And it's like, how am I supposed to get invested in these characters, you know, when they just show up? I don't know where they came from. I don't know what their backstory is. I don't know any of their names. They just show up, and you know, every now and then you'll get their names because they say, hey, Blades, why don't you do this? And you know, it's like, there's only two people here. Why are you calling him by his full name? I don't know, because kids need to know what toy to buy. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's because there's so many characters sometimes that it's just like they get lost in the shuffle, and that's unfortunate because, you know, it's like some of them could be really dynamic characters, but you know, I will never know because it's like, as far as the G1 show goes, that's it. That's all we got. And then Beast Wars, though, like I said, it's like, while the show itself wasn't, it ran longer than G1. If you include Beast Machines. But because the crews were so much smaller, you get to know every character. You know who they are. So it's not like, oh yeah, I like Skywarp because he's the black and purple jet. It's more of a like I'm a fan of Rampage because I'm a fan of the tortured soul that's reaching out, you know, the Frankenstein type story. You know, Frankenstein's monster, where it's like, if left to his own devices, he probably would have been a good person, but instead, because of what other people did to him, he became evil. You know, I like that because it's like, here I have a story to go off of. You know, it's like I have a character development. You know, Dinobot was always a great character because you can sit there and you can compare him to like a Spartan, and you know how he's always willing to, you know, fight to his last breath, and you know, no, he doesn't believe in surrender. He just wants to keep going. Which brings me to my number one reason why Beast Wars is better, and that is Code of a Hero. Plain and simple. If you guys, for everybody out there, that if you guys watched Beast Wars, and you enjoyed Beast Wars, and you watched Code of a Hero, you all know why. I don't have to explain why Code of a Hero is the best reason why Beast Wars is the best show. You have got such a great story arc in this one episode. You also have this story arc that started from the beginning of the series with Dinobot, slowly finding redemption, And then, at the beginning of season 2, he loses that redemption, and now he's trying to build it back up because he's trying to find his own way, his own path. He doesn't want to just be a blind leader or blind follower for Megatron. He doesn't want to be a blind follower for Optimus. He wants to find his own path. And unfortunately, because of his own choices, that own path is what takes his life. And that is such a great story. The death of Dinobot was just like, holy shit. Not only do they have the guts to kill off a main character, but they have the guts to kill off a main character in such a way that is actually... I can't sit there and say, well, I kind of wish he still was alive, because it's like, no. It was a worthy death. A worthy death for the hero. He was the hero of the story up until that point. And it's just... It was something else. It was something else first time watching it. It was just kind of like, wow. That was pretty good. That was pretty awesome. I really thought that was good. You look at Optimus' death in the original G1 movie, the stakes, while high, weren't high enough. He mows through the entire Decepticon army, on his way to Megatron. And then he has the epic battle with Megatron, and because of Hot Rod, some people say it's because of Hot Rod. I say it's because Optimus was afraid to pull the trigger. Because he had dead rights. He didn't have to sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to kill you now. It's like, no, just fucking kill him. What would Clint Eastwood do? It didn't. It had a huge impact for a lot of kids. It was so traumatic for a lot of kids. But when you really... And then he comes back and it's like, oh, no harm, no foul. It was just like... It just... For me, it doesn't seem the same. Especially since you're already kind of numb while watching all the other Autobots get killed on the way through. It's just like... It just wasn't the same. It's you can't compare the two deaths. I'm just talking about Optimus because I know somebody will. But the death of Dinobot, because like I said, part of it is also because of the smaller crews. You get to know Dinobot. You got to know him. It was you knew his every thought, his every wish. You know what his faults were, and that he knew what his faults were, and he also didn't mow through all the Predacons on the way to fight Megatron. He fought every Predacon, and he got injured by almost every Predacon. And seeing him like lying there, or trying to stand up, damaged beyond repair, and he's still trying to fight. It's like it was so much better, and especially since it wasn't one of those scenarios where, okay, the only way Megatron could defeat Optimus was because Hot Rod got involved, and they were pretty equally matched. No, Dinobot was no equal match to that Megatron. Transmetal Megatron, not a chance. He was not. He was able to get the upper hand at one key point, and that was the disc, which made it so that it was no longer worth the fight. So, but anyway. So yeah, those are my top 10 reasons why I think Beast Wars is better than G1. What do you guys think?